Hello and welcome to my channel where I share everything you need to know to design your life. Like everyone else, I have been obsessively watching Depp versus Heard situation. My cortisol levels have been on a roller coaster from hell, and I have been glued to the internet journalist channel. And in doing so, I came across older videos of Johnny Depp's penthouses at the Eastern Columbia Building. And the penthouses he owns, specifically two I'm going to focus on, is going to be Penthouse 3 and Penthouse 4. As a designer, I love architecture and interior design. Art Nouveau, Art Deco, mid-century modern. These design styles make my heart oh so very, very, very happy. I watched several videos about the history of the Eastern Columbia Building. In one of these videos, it was stated that Johnny Depp had said that he designed his own penthouses. Of course, this, as we have recently learned, would be called hearsay, hearsay, hearsay. The question posed was if he actually designed them himself or if he had them designed by a professional designer. Now, the narrator's question did not come from a place of whether or not Johnny Depp had the ability, but rather the perceived lack of time that he would have to do so. Nonetheless, I found the narrator's question an interesting conundrum, which is how I have come to make this video. Before I share my conclusion, I want to clarify a few facts. I do not know Johnny Depp. I have never met Johnny Depp. I have no inside verification that my final conclusions at the end of this video are accurate or true in any other way than they are my opinion. If Johnny Depp would like to chat about his interior design process, he is welcome to reach out to me to do so. Otherwise, I will just say that the opinions and conclusions that I suggest in this video are possibly correct and most definitely my own. So for now, we will continue on with my design analysis as a bit of interior design insight and fun. The interior design insights, opinions, and conclusions that I share are in no way criticism on any person or persons who may or may not have had any direct or indirect input on the design of the Eastern Columbia Building penthouses once owned by Johnny Depp. Now, with that little disclaimer out of the way, let's get started. In this video, I'm going to try to answer 4 questions. Was Johnny Depp's penthouse professionally designed? What design style is Johnny Depp's penthouse? Does the penthouse design style really work? And did Johnny Depp design his own penthouse? So let's take a look at the Eastern Columbia Building. P3 will be the focus of the analysis as it is believed to be the primary residence of Johnny Depp at the time of ownership. And then I'll also include images from what I understand to be Penthouse 4 and Johnny Depp's studio with a loft, and also there's a bedroom there, as I felt these are relevant in discussing his design style and therefore will be briefly mentioned. No images from other penthouse units will be considered since they were used by other individuals who may have had a different design style or perhaps had some of their own belongings. I'm not sure. Also, I'm not going to consider images of furnishings that were used to stage the property for sale because staging is not interior design and it's not an indicator of personal design style. Let me start with a little bit of background on the Eastern Columbia Building. It is an Art Deco style. It is located in Los Angeles, California, and it was built in 1930 and designed by Claude Bielman. It was originally built as the headquarters for clothing and furniture outfitters, Eastern Outfitting Company and Columbia Outfitting Company. It has turquoise terracotta exterior with blue and gold trim. It is 13 stories, 147 units, 264 feet high, and 270,000 total square feet. So the reno was between 2004 and 2006, and Killefer Fleming Architect converted the building, and Kelly Wursler Interior Design reimagined the interior public spaces. The floor plan is from public record, and residents were designed to be authentic lofts. The units were designed with an open floor plan and polished concrete floors. The interiors had no walls or doors, so they basically received one open unit, and then they were responsible for dividing it up into be private spaces or public spaces, and then to also add the finishes to those. I was not able to confirm if the European kitchens or finished baths were pre-designed as part of the scope done by Kelly Wursler, or if these design choices were up to the individual unit owners. If you happen to know, leave me a comment below. In the floor plan, you can see which penthouse is Penthouse 3. The downstairs features a foyer, dining area, kitchen, living room, bar area, and bathroom with a laundry. The upstairs features a master bedroom and bath, bedroom number 2, and a mezzanine, which could be a sitting area. Overall, this penthouse is 2-bedroom, 3-bath, 2,400 square feet with 11-foot ceiling. But first, I want to mention a few parameters to kind of set the stage for my analysis. The Eastern Columbia Building reno was between 2004 and 2006. It opened to the public to sell the units in late 2006. The first question I want to pose is, was Johnny Depp's penthouse professionally designed? Johnny Depp purchased it in 2007, and he purchased 5 units total, which equaled approximately 11,500 square feet. And all 5 units together were 9 bedrooms, 14 baths, and he listed the property for $12.78 million, selling it for $10.9 million. So therefore, he should have been the original owner of these newly available penthouses. My research did not reveal any credible references to any designers claiming to have been solely engaged to design Johnny Depp's penthouses. There was a mention of one decorator designer that stated she had assisted the then wife of Johnny Depp from July 2014 until some point in 2016. All the furniture and furnishings that this decorator designer acquired for Johnny Depp were claimed and removed by the then wife at the end of her occupancy. It is presumed that since Johnny Depp purchased the units in 2007 that he had furniture and furnishings and made all the interior design decisions until at the earliest sometime in 2012 or possibly even until July 2014. It is also presumed, based on current research, that Johnny Depp resumed making interior design decisions after 2016 when he was once again a bachelor. I want to make 2 points about the professional design analysis. Now, my opinions will be based on fundamental design principles of interior design, and we will kind of walk through those. The first part will be based on style elements, which, if you don't know, are balance, rhythm, harmony, emphasis, detail, and unity. And then secondly, I will be looking at the space planning, art placement, display, focal point, finishes, materials, lighting, texture, color, functionality, visual flow, and traffic flow. Now, I won't be listing each one of these and giving you a boring list of everything, but I will be considering all of these as I look through the spaces. In the main living area of Penthouse 3, the layout is really not conducive to conversation. The chairs are too far from the sofa. The Chesterfield sectional sofa is very substantial. It has a lot of detail. The leather is very durable. It has a lot of visual weight to it. And then the 2 chairs that are in the room, one is a Art Nouveau piece, which is the blue one. Then you have the Art Deco sheepskin club chair. The scale is wrong on these because the club chair is much smaller than the Art Nouveau lounge chair. And comparatively with each other, the scale is wrong, and then when you compare it to the Chesterfield sofa, the scale is wrong there, and then they are too far apart for good conversation. And then the little Moroccan poof just kind of looks out of place. The coffee table is an Art Deco piece. It has Art Deco lines, natural wood. It's rather heavy looking, even though it's open on the bottom. It's chunky. So it matches more with the sofa, but less so with the chairs. Also, there is no table or surface for a person to sitting in those chairs to enjoy the conversation with the people on the sofa and have a place to put their drink. Now, granted, there's the shelves behind it, but that would be very awkward to have to turn around and put your drink on that shelf if you're trying to carry on a conversation with someone in front of you, and every time you want to set your drink down, you have to reach behind you or to the side and then take focus off the people that you're trying to have a conversation with. Also, if you look at the coffee table, the items are kind of lined up in the middle, going down the middle of this coffee table. When you are an interior designer, you're going to have different levels. There's going to be more cohesive arrangement. Also, the colors in the space are not diverse enough. You have brown walls, a brown sofa, a brown coffee table. There's a lot of muted browns in the carpets, in the rugs. You have the brown bookshelves, and then all the books are just lined up. A professional designer is going to have some negative space and positive space. You're going to have different levels for your books. There's going to be trinkets or boxes or something of interest, art piece on top of books. You're going to draw more attention to the art pieces. If you look in that far corner, there is looks like an Art Nouveau statue, but there's no lighting to emphasize it. It's not up on anything. It's not a focal piece. And then the room in general does not have a focus, unless you say it's the television, but then the only people who can see the television are the people sitting on the Chesterfield sofa, not the people sitting in the chairs. So there's really no focus. There is no cohesive color scheme. I think the art pieces were chosen because they either meant something to the occupant or they are investment pieces. And then maybe it could be a bit of both. But the problem with how they're displayed is that the size is inappropriate for the wall that it's occupying. When you hang art, whether it's in a gallery form or in a collage form, you want some negative space. You want positive space, you want negative space, you want it to be balanced, you want there to be something that ties these pieces together. And the art is very diverse, so you would think that it might be the color of the frame that would tie it together. Or it could be the content of the art. For example, if it was all people or all architecture, there needs to be some common thread that kind of flows throughout these pieces. The colors in the art itself is very similar to the wall color, and typically you want there to be a contrast there so that the art stands out rather than blending in or getting lost in your wall. And originally I thought that maybe it was plaster, but I don't think it is, because the walls below the window seem to be very textured, and typically when you have kind of old world plaster walls, they're very smooth. There's no finish that looks quite like plaster walls. And these walls, although there's some visual difference in them, I think it's done more with a paint technique rather than with it being plaster walls. Also, the floor is very dark, and then you have that staircase, which is also dark. It's just color-wise, it's a very bland space, and nothing stands out. There's nothing to really focus on. Also the styles, you have the Chesterfield sofa, which actually was used during the Art Nouveau period, so therefore it was also present during the Art Deco period. So they tie in, but there's really no cohesiveness to be able to say this is Art Deco or this is Art Nouveau or this is mid-century modern or the French country, whatever the case may be. There's not enough pieces that speak to one another to really be able to hone in and say this is what this design style is. Now, if you move into the kitchen and dining area, there's a bit more contrast because you do have the tile above the European kitchen, and I can't tell if that is a really dark charcoal gray or maybe a really deep blue, or if it is black. With the light reflecting off of it from the windows, it's a little bit hard to tell. Then you have the walls. Now these do look a bit more like plaster, but it could be a paint with some sort of a glaze on top. The artwork that's above some sort of a settee or a sofa, the artwork that's above it, the scale is wrong, the placement is wrong. And when I say wrong, I mean you can hang art in your space any way you want to. But you have this large mirror, and then you have all these little tiny frames kind of scattered on the other side. It doesn't line up perfectly with your mirror, so it's not like it's visually carrying those lines over. The art and the mirror is quite a bit larger than the settee and the scale of the table that it is hanging above. So again, you have that scale issue. I think maybe the idea was to carry the lines of the cabinets around. Just the way it's done, it's too much. It's too much on that wall. It's too much above that settee. The floors, if I'm not mistaken, these floors are done in a herringbone pattern because I believe they match the master bedroom floors. And I did see a empty Penthouse video linked below if you'd like to look through it, and you can actually see that they have switched out some of the light fixtures as they prepare it for sale, and they also did some different paint colors in some of the other rooms. But this room is a very nice juxtaposition between old world and the modern, because you do have the European kitchen, but you have walls that look like they could be plaster, shiny tile, a little more earthy tone wood on the island, and then you have the dark floors. So that is working very nicely together. In the master bedroom, you have Art Deco light fixture, which you can see in the reflection of the television, and then you have the Art Nouveau light that is sitting on the table, and then the purple that's in the drapes actually could work very well either for the Art Deco or the Art Nouveau, but the motif of the peacock is definitely Art Nouveau. Now the bedspread, one of the reasons I think that this style was dubbed possibly bohemian is because of the floral cover. You do see floral in boho design, but it is also very popular in the Art Nouveau era. And this same style of kind of bright colors, the blues, the pinks, the oranges, very, very popular in the Art Nouveau time. The two chairs that you see are also Art Nouveau. So we have an Art Deco light, an Art Nouveau drape motif, Art Nouveau light, Art Nouveau bedspread, and also chair. Now if you look at a different view of this same master bedroom, you will also notice that there is a French bed, a French chaise or fainting sofa, and then you have very modern sleek night tables. And these, it would appear to be wood and metal, or maybe it is lacquer and metal, I'm not quite sure which. And then of course you have the drum shade. In this room, in the master bedroom, also the artwork again is kind of scattered across the wall, and the scale of it is not necessarily working well with the way in which it is displayed. But it does work in the space because again this is an eclectic look, and a lot of the colors in the artwork ties into the dark color of the floor or into the dark frame of the bed, and also the side table. You have the herringbone floors, and then of course two rugs within the space, and all of these also help with the acoustics. Now if I'm not mistaken, this is Penthouse 4, and this would have been Johnny Depp's art studio. The room is rather sparse. There's not really a cohesiveness in the furnishings, but again this was the art studio, so that would be completely understandable because you would want to have large spaces open to put your easel and your paints. The light above the round table is a 1980 monumental industrial chandelier from American Airlines JFK Airport. That is a industrial style. You have the industrial style chairs made from old Texaco signs. Then you also have wood floors to bring in the warmth. You have bright blue walls. You do have the large art on the wall, which brings in color and interest and visual texture. And it has a European kitchen. And then there's also some blocks which kind of look 1950s, but I'm sure they may be original to the building. And then above that, you have the loft. Now in the loft, the design completely changes. Walls are still blue. From a design perspective, is not really tying into what we saw downstairs. This is a Moroccan bed and 2 Art Deco club chairs. The way that they're placed is very awkward. Now I cannot see the other side of the room, so I don't know what's over there, but it just looks odd to have a Moroccan bed with the chairs facing away from each other and also away from the bed. For example, if that was used as a settee, you would think the chairs would be facing it to create a conversation area, but that's not what we see here. The pillows and things that are on the Moroccan bed, they don't match the Moroccan style, nor do they match anything else within the space. Above the loft in Penthouse 4, there is a bedroom. You have Johnny Depp's studio, then you have the loft above it with the Moroccan bed, and then you have a bedroom above that. Now the bedroom, I said I wasn't going to show anything from the staging, but I want you to see the difference paint can make, because originally the bedroom was red, which a lot of people will have a red dining room or a red bedroom, and they associate that with passion, but it can also be associated with aggression, and those kind of walk along the same very fine line. But in the original state, the bedroom was painted red, and there's some very large artwork which you can actually see in the staged photo a little bit better. It's the same artwork, all they did was paint the walls kind of a white or off-white, but there's massive art in here, and this actually works. The size of the art works rather well. The placement of it is more questionable because you have some art kind of floating in the air with no furniture to anchor it. And typically you want your eye to be able to go, say, from a dresser to a lamp to an art piece that's above it. And there's nothing anchoring any of these pieces of art on the left wall. The ones on the right wall are large enough that they're not tremendously high away from the floor, so they almost anchor themselves. But the art, what I found interesting, it is said that we choose art that either speak to us or speak for us. And the art in this particular room, I kind of blew up a picture of it so that you could get an idea of what the composition is. See if you do not share my thoughts on that. Bathroom that is in the unit has penny tile, and penny tile ties back to the early 1900s, so it's very appropriate for the space. Then of course you have the Art Deco influences, and then you have stylized animal wallpaper, which ties completely into the Art Deco motif, as well as does the light fixture. What design style is Johnny Depp's penthouse? Let me say that what we will look for is similarities in the design of each space. And similarities are to design what symptoms are to illness. For example, if a patient came in and said, "I have a cough, diagnose me," the doctor cannot give a definitive diagnosis based on one symptom. Just as a space cannot be defined as boho or rustic chic just because there may be a few plants, baskets, or a bit of rough sawn wood in it. You have to look at the pieces individually and then look at the design as a whole to identify a common design style. And that's what we are going to do. Johnny Depp's penthouse interior has several design style influences. There's Art Deco influences of the building architecture. There are influences of Art Nouveau, Art Deco, and mid-century modern, and also industrial design furnishing influence. While this may sound like a recipe for designer stew, in case you're not familiar with what these styles are, or when they occurred, industrial design was inspired by the Industrial Revolution, and there was actually two of those. The first one was in 1760, and the second one was in 1870. Art Nouveau and Art Deco were both international movements of the decorative arts and architecture. The Art Nouveau movement, in terms of dates, covers a period of about 1890 to 1910-ish. This would have been the late 19th century to pre-First World War. The Art Deco movement encompasses 1920s and 30s, or a period between the wars. To give you an idea, the Great Depression was 1929 to 1939, World War I was 1914 to 1918, and World War II was 1939 to 1945. And mid-century modern is influenced by the International and Bauhaus and encompasses a period between 1933 and 1969, with mid-century modern being at its heightened point during the post-World War II period of 1945 to 1969. And then we have the industrial design style resurgence, which occurred early 2000s. Neutral colors, architectural items, materials, bare lights, mechanical systems such as stone and brick, exposed rafters, exposed beams, and pipes and duct and hardware. These design styles are actually interrelated in a way that they work well together when placed well within the space. And they create an aesthetically pleasing eclectic space. The design style shares design details that carry over and weave through from one style period to the next. The most dominant design style that seems consistent throughout the space is Art Deco. The primary design style is supported by elements from the Art Nouveau, industrial design, and mid-century modern, and that lead me to consider this to be an eclectic Art Deco design style. In looking at his other properties as compared to the Eastern Columbia Building, I also believe that his overall style is eclectic. Whether that is eclectic Art Deco or if it's eclectic French chateau, because if you look at some of the other properties' interior photos, which granted we are very limited on those images, but if you look at them, they are not purist style, as in it is all traditional or it is all rustic or it is all Gothic. I think you will find a mixture of different styles of furniture and furnishings, and I think this is what makes the spaces warm and inviting and welcoming to guests. Now, does the Penthouse design style really work? It is ultimately the design styles that make this space work. If you look at the entrance of the Eastern Columbia Building, you can see that it is full on Art Deco. You have the turquoise and the gold, the terracotta, the terrazzo floors, you have the chevron, you have the vertical lines and the horizontal lines, and then the interior has plaster walls and a lot of detail. The eclectic design style is created by selecting various design style elements and motifs and fusing them into an authentically unique composition. And I do think a very unique composition has been accomplished. The design method combines a mixture of design elements, colors, lines, textures, and materials from these different design styles. And you do want to select design styles that may be aesthetically similar or that contrast. And it leans more heavy on the Art Deco features in Penthouse 3 and Penthouse 4. The reason this space works so well is because, in spite of the fundamental interior design practices that are overlooked, there is a great play on texture. You have the texture in the walls, you have the texture of the Chesterfield sofa, even though that leather is shiny and smooth, as is the coffee table, you do have the texture of the rugs, and they play very nicely with the different colors that are in the throw pillows, which brings in some of the colors from the artwork. Now, the artwork, even though, as I mentioned about negative space versus positive space, and composition being cohesive, or details being cohesive in some way to tie it together. What it does have working for it is that it does go up the wall. It does create some height, which kind of brings down those 11-foot ceilings and makes it feel a little more human size. And then also it balances out the fact that your TV is up way too high on the other side. The television is not in a location that would be comfortable to watch even if you were sitting on the sofa, and definitely not if you're sitting in the chairs. But because the art goes up the wall, it does balance out the opposite wall of where that TV is mounted. One thing that could have been added to this space would be to have your light fixture hanging a little bit lower over the coffee table, and say bring it down to about 8 feet or so, and that would kind of bring down the volume of the room, making the area feel more human size, especially when you're sitting on the sofa. Because if you can imagine sitting on the sofa, that sofa is probably 19 inches off the floor if you're sitting on it, and you're sitting there and then you're looking up at an 11-foot ceiling. Well, if you install the light where it hangs lower over the coffee table, when you're sitting on the sofa, it makes it feel more human size, more to scale with you, rather than kind of like you're sitting at the bottom of a barrel looking at the only way out. Some of the things working for the space is the color, because a lot of the colors are similar. At least they're not clashing, they are similar. And then you do have the pops of color in the artwork and also in the pillows. You do have texture and play of texture because you have the rugs, and then the smoothness of the coffee table, which is a warm wood, and that kind of helps offset the industrial metals that are in the room, both in the stairs and also in some of the furnishings, and then the frames of the window. The books add color and texture, and you have the rugs on the floor, art on the wall. This is all going to help in your acoustics because it's going to help absorb some of that echo. And then you do have pops of color, like I said, in the books, but also in the Art Nouveau lounge chair being blue. It ties back to some of the blues on the sofa and the spines on the book. The leather of the Art Deco, the vintage Deco sheepskin leather club chair, ties into the leather that is on the poof and also on the sofa. Unfortunately, all of these leather colors are very similar to the wall, so nothing is playing off of each other, but rather just blending in. But that can also work well. Most of the chairs in the space, I would say, are either Art Nouveau or Art Deco, and that would include the one in the master. In the kitchen area, the lighting and the finishes work very well together because, again, you have the visual texture of the walls, you've got the warm wood that is on the countertop that works well with the dark floors. The lighting in the space is really nice. It is currently the lights over the breakfast bar are Victorian drugstore apothecary hanging globes, and they are of glass and iron. Now these will be replaced at the time of sale with the, I would assume, the original Art Deco light fixtures, which will be put back in their place. Now the lighting is hanging lower over the breakfast bar, which is really good to bring down the scale of the room because the room is rather narrow compared to its height. So without those lights being brought down lower, it could seem quite cold and out of scale. And then the color of the sofa, which appears to be velvet, has really nice texture on it. You've got the texture of the rug. So there's quite a few things working in this space, and again, it's going to have those Art Nouveau, Art Deco features. Now, one thing I did notice is a lot of accessories are Art Nouveau, such as the Art Nouveau candlesticks. I'm pointing out one here, highlighting it, but there are two on the counter, and there seems to be some other Art Nouveau pieces also on the island. The lights are Art Nouveau, and then there's some Art Nouveau over in the dining area and also in the entry. There's a very strong vein of Art Art Deco that runs throughout the space, and it works very well. To give you an idea of the various styles that have been meshed into this space, as I mentioned, Art Deco, Art Nouveau, and Industrial and Mid-Century Modern, but we also have some Victorian. So there's different styles that is being meshed together to create a custom space. Final question, which actually started this video: did Johnny Depp really design his own penthouse? Now, to answer the question of if Johnny Depp designed his own penthouses, let me start by giving you a little insight on how you can actually work with designers or people with design knowledge. You can work with designers or people with design knowledge in different ways. You can have a turnkey designer who does most of the work and design process for you. You can hire a design consultant where together you kind of create an overall design direction, but then you take that direction and those plans and you run with it on your own. You might periodically consult with the designer again if you have additional questions. Another option is to hire a designer as a personal interior design shopper. This may be someone that will search or keep watch for items that you're interested in and then communicate that when those items are available that would suit your style. You might work with dealers such as antique dealers, auctioneers, those type people who would have access to these items. You could inform them on what you're looking for. They would inform you when they found it and then communicate that to you. And Johnny Depp is very creative. Creative individuals cannot be uncreative. When a person is highly creative, it influences how they look at everything. Creatives can see things not only as they are, but most importantly, they can see what they can become. They have a vision. And he is an actor, musician, and artist, and he does truly understand the concept of color, placement, presentation, and composition, all of which are important when designing or decorating a space. I would say that Johnny Depp is more than capable of decorating his own spaces. Based on my limited knowledge, I would say that Johnny Depp designed his spaces himself or played a major role in doing so. Will the final design embody every recommended design element? Probably not. But what the design lacks in professional design elements and fundamentals, it makes up for in creating a welcoming atmosphere full of personality, visual interest, and personal story. I will say most importantly, when you invest yourself in your space, you create a sense of home, of comfort, of well-being. That is priceless. I hope you enjoyed this video and just a fun look at interior design. And if so, please subscribe and be sure to leave a comment. Let me know what personal interior design style is yours and if you designed it yourself or you worked with a designer. Please check out my other videos. They are not about celebrities, but they do share design fundamentals and design elements important to know if you are designing your space. Thank you so much for spending time with me, and I will see you in the next one.